Hello friends, and welcome to a new video. Today I want to show you all my art book collection because I'm a huge lover of books, especially art related books, and I think it's a great inspiration for everyone, and this is why I want to show every art book I have. Cozy Days is one of the first art books I bought a while ago. This is why you can see a lot of pages that have these yellow corners. But anyway, I'm still fond of this book because it's so well done. It has a really great balance between written content and tutorials and artwork. And this is not so usual to see in art books because usually they are meant to showcase the artist's art and illustrations. So they're not meant to be about tutorials and other insights, but this one in particular has so much content and I love it for this. Also, the print quality is very good because you can see every mark the artist did, like the color pencils she uses after painting with watercolors. You can literally see every mark, like every brush stroke. So this is very nice to have as an artist and to observe the art in detail. So overall, Iraville's artwork really inspired me to simplify my drawings a bit more because I usually tend to draw a lot of details, but when it comes to design, I'm not so good and I'm not so good at communicating a clear message sometimes. So looking at her art really helped me improve my drawings in some way. Hideaways is the second art book by Iraville and also one of my recent purchases, and this book features more natural environments, building illustrations, and not so many character design as in the first book. And I also have to say that this book has a bit less content than the other one because there are a lot of images and art galleries, but not so many explanations and insights from the artist. And I know that an art book has to be full of images and illustrations, but I also love to have more insights from the artist because as an artist who interviews other artists on my page for artists, if you didn't know, you can check my Substack page because I have a lot of artists sharing their insights in there. Also, when it comes to style and preferences, I really like to know what an artist thinks when doing an illustration and choosing the composition and so on and so forth. Maybe I'm the only curious in this room, but anyway, I still think that this art book is great and it has very nice illustrations and also nice content, especially the two tutorials at the end. There's one that I really loved about how to choose watercolors and mix them, and as a traditional artist, I really love these insights. Another traditional artist that has these great simple design, shapes and figures is Sibylline. I also love the different textures that this book has because the first pages of each chapter are transparent pages, and then some pages are smoother and other are more rough, and it's very nice to touch this book overall. It's also interesting to see how Sibylline changed her style over time and how she improved her skills as a self-taught artist. And for example, in the influences page, she draws the same character with different artist styles, the artists that basically influenced her art. And you could see that her style is a mixture of all these different styles. I think the rough drawings are the most interesting because you can actually see what an artist thinks and what are the first concepts and the first lines she put on the paper, and nothing is perfect, so it makes you feel better about your ugly sketches. In this book, there are also a couple of tutorials like how to paint with acrylic gouache, and I think it's difficult to understand how she really mixes the acrylic gouache and then applies it on paper, because when I first used the acrylic gouache not so long time ago, I find it very difficult to keep up with mixing the colors and then avoiding the colors to dry on the plate because the acrylic gouache dries so quickly, and then applying a smooth layer of color on the paper. So overall, I didn't fall in love with acrylic gouache, and I think this is the reason why I didn't appreciate enough the tutorials. But if you love gouache, I think you can find them useful. Another artist that gives you these melancholic and nostalgic vibes is Djamila Knopf, and this art book in particular is much bigger than the previous ones, and you feel more immersed in her illustrations. Djamila is a self-taught artist as well, who works mainly with digital media, but eventually you can now find some traditional artwork as well in her Instagram. Her style reminds me a lot of Ghibli movies, especially for the detailed natural backgrounds. And overall, you can say that the artworks take a big place in this book, but I would prefer to read more explanations and have some more artist insights. Anyway, you can still find at the end some tips about composition and color palettes. I have both art books from Simone Grunewald, the first one being Sketch Every Day, which has this shape like a sketchbook, and I think it's very nice to see her timeline, both in terms of personal life and art style and artwork. This book is full packed with tutorials about art fundamentals such as shape design, simplified anatomy tips, perspective, lighting, painting, and so on. If you're a beginner artist, you need to have this book in your library because it has so much information, and even if something is not explained in detail, you still have the input to delve deeper into that specific topic. Personally, I still go through this art book anytime I feel something is missing in my character designs, so yeah, it's definitely a must-have. Draw What You Love is more of an inspirational book that you may need after you set down your drawing basics. So it's more about how to get work in the industry, how to set prices and develop a network. And I think it's evident that this book is a sort of follow-up to the previous one because you'll also find more in-depth information on character poses and clothes, backgrounds and digital painting techniques. And it also has a more extended gallery of Simone artworks. So I would sum up these two books as the first one being more technical and practice-based, and the second one being more inspirational with a few more tips on perfecting your drawings. Ladowska art book is the very first art book I ever bought in my life. I remember I was obsessed with her cute portraits and drawings, and I think my actual style has been influenced by this book in particular. It's also interesting to see how she used to draw realistic portraits before getting into the manga drawings. I love her use of alcohol markers, also the way she draws face features on her characters. And in this book, she gives useful tips about drawing hands and faces and getting the right proportions, and also drawing hair, which is a very interesting topic. Another useful thing about this book is that you can see the exact markers, color numbers she uses to get smooth blending and smooth color transitions. And if you're into alcohol markers, then this book is for you. I love Heikala art books mainly because I really love her watercolor illustrations. They're a pleasure for the eyes. And in this book, she talks about how she developed her style and where she gets inspiration from. And you'll also find a bunch of sketchbook pages and traditional tools, tips, and techniques. She also talks about building a profession and designing products based off your art. And like all 3D publishing art books, even this one features a couple of tutorials at the end, one about watercolors and the other one about colored inks. Overall, I'm happy to flip through this book from time to time when I need some inspiration or when I just want to see some beautiful watercolor illustrations. Eleeza art book is such a masterpiece. You may already know her for her incredible pencil line art. In this book, she shares her drawing technique based on silhouette and volumes, as well as her tools and some process insights. I really love the lines she adds to defining volumes and also her characters living such beautiful, intense emotions. For me, when flipping through this art book, it's like assisting to a gallery exhibition, and I feel so honored to see such huge masterpieces created nowadays. The Forget Me Not art book by Claire Wendling is one of my favorite art books when it comes to character design, like fairies and fantasy characters in general. Claire is a master of anatomy. Her shapes are so unique, like you could touch them. She said during an interview that she first draws things from imagination and memory, and then she looks for references so that she can see what it's missing or what has to be corrected. And she does this with everything, like even with very hard subjects to draw, like horses. Honestly, I don't know which kind of horse I could pull out from my imagination. But anyway, she said that this is a great practice to develop your own voice, your own style, because you don't rely on references and you are not influenced by them. I also have a second book of her called Iguana Bay, and basically the story of this book is that she published it once in 1996, and then in 2003 her publisher wanted to reprint it, but Claire didn't want to reprint the old artworks, so she offered to draw a new version of each drawing, and in this book you'll see both versions, her old and new drawings, and it's interesting to notice how she refined shapes and silhouettes and how much her skills improved. I always go through this book as a reminder for me to redo my drawings in order to improve shapes and design more. And I mean, redrawing means doing more practice, and more practice makes us better artists. I've got all three art books of Loish because I really admire her as an artist and as a teacher. I think she helped and still helps so much the art community through sharing lots of useful information and tutorials for very little price on Patreon, but also in her books. I love her ability to explain everything so clearly and without too many useless details. The Art of Loish is her first art book, and this is basically where she talks about her beginnings and behind the scenes of her art and her inspirations, her daily practice, her color choices, and painting process. She also shares her client work where you can see different art style, but you can still tell that she's the artist behind. It's interesting to see how versatile she is as an artist and how recognizable her style is. And also, each of her art books ends with a few tutorials and some quick tips. The Sketchbook of Loish is her second art book, and it's mainly about her sketchbook drawing, as the title claims. And she talks about stylization, gesture drawing, speed painting, and good habits. Overall, you can see lots of her drawings, but honestly, I would have preferred to know more about what she focuses more on and what she looks for when sketching. I mean, there are some useful tips and insights, but not an in-depth explanation about poses, anatomy, and shape language, which I think are the most important parts and aspects when it comes to drawing. The third art book is all about style, and I think this is such an interesting topic to talk about in an art book because the question how you develop your style is one of the most asked questions in the art community, in my opinion. And so in this book, Loish analyzes her drawings and tries to explain all her stylistic choices, and I guarantee you that this is not easy at all. As artists, we mainly do unconscious decisions that, of course, are based on previous experiences and studies and on personal preferences, but in the end, we're not really able to tell why we draw certain things in a certain way. So I really appreciate Loish for doing this huge effort in analyzing her style and even giving some examples of different styles. And in the end, I could say that this is one of the best art books I ever read. So these are all my art books. I hope you like this video, and please write me in the comments which of these is your favorite art book or your favorite artist, or if you have a new art book to suggest me, then do it, because I'm always happy to discover new art books. Thank you for watching this video and see you in the next one. Bye!